As you know, my name is Nima Schei. I'm organizing Miami Area Club, and my goal for Miami Area Club is to create a community to have a positive impact on the society through the use of AI. And this is, I think, our fourth event, or fourth public event. We'll have to have you here, and the name of the event is AI Lawfare. So as the name is explanatory, we are going to talk about how to build guardrails around the AI, so you don't see any black swan event down the road 20 years later. A little bit background about myself. So today I was writing my story, and I noticed that I have divided my story into three phases. So phase one was when I became an AI enthusiast around 20 years ago. So I was a medical student, skipping medical school, going to electrical engineering classes, and after a couple of semesters, the professor came to me and told me, "Why I don't see your name in the ledger?" And I was expecting him to
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress to kick me out of the class, and he was kind enough to support me. We started working together on some cool projects. But the first one that we started was learning and studying how emotions are processed in human brain, and then trying to incorporate that to machines. Because back then the mentality, the stigma was that fuzzy or logic systems are good for decision making, and emotions are bad. And so people were thinking, and there were a lot of books that ignore your emotions, stay on your logic. And our hypothesis was that if emotions are bad, why are we emotional animals? In our evolution, it should have been disappeared, but we are still emotional animals. So that was the start of my career in AI. We studied the limbic system in the deep area of the brain, and then we created the first machines that they were thinking like humans. They had emotions, intuitions, and logic. And then we studied those machines, which we call it BEL, stands for brain emotional learning, in different use cases, and we showed that they are superior than logic-based systems for making better decisions. They make decisions faster, and they rely on less computation power. So you can use that in many use cases where you don't have tons of GPUs and cloud resources for the processing. And for example, it's been used in washing machines nowadays, in a lot of applications in control engineering, like airplanes, and even for trading stocks. So this is phase one, and then hello, and then and then a little bit later, I was doing different research about how neural networks in the stomach of crab works, and you might be confused why stomach of crab, what's going on in the stomach of crab. It's very interesting because the stomach of crab has only 6 or 7 neurons. And with 6 or 7 neurons, it can create some like unimaginable decisions that if you want to model that using neural networks, you would need like tens of thousands of neurons. So you will see a pattern over here. We learn from brain, we learn from biology, and then we can create better AI. And this is the future of AI, because nowadays our AI is mostly like we are making it more complex and complex. We are like adding millions and billions of neurons in our neural networks, but we don't fundamentally think about how we can design the neurons differently to make better decisions and more efficient decisions. So this is phase one, and then I became an AI entrepreneur around 7-8 years ago. Did a company called Bell Research, which our idea was to bring the Bell, brain emotional learning, into industry. So I started talking with my friends in the academia, in the industry, and asked them, what's the main obstacle that you have, and how do you think that AI can solve them? So some of them came with the idea that, okay, you are like one of my friends, he was a professor in Yale, and then they were using MRI scans for detecting pre-Alzheimer's. But the problem was that for that modeling and that yes or no decision, they needed like expensive amount of GPUs. So each time they wanted to give like an MRI to a patient, of a patient to see if they have Alzheimer's or not, they have to spend like $1,000 for just the computation resources because it's very expensive. So that was one of the projects that we started working on to reduce their computation power using brain emotional learning. And then another project that we did was related to deepfake detection. Deepfakes are the attacks that you see nowadays using the pictures or videos from YouTube. They can capture your face and then create a video of you. And this is going to be a huge societal problem in the near future, but we are not ready for that yet. So our hypothesis was that using brain emotional learning, we can create a model that can detect deepfakes better than humans. We did some work there, but at the end of the day, it's an ongoing competition. There is like every day better and better models for creating deepfakes, and then you have to create better models for detecting deepfakes. So that work from computer vision ended up for me to starting another company called Hummingbird AI. And for that company, we use computer vision AI for the purpose of security and access to the computer. Arturo here is the cybersecurity guy, so he's very familiar with this area. For some of you that who might not be familiar with this area, authentication means access to the computer or access to the resources. And so with using AI, we make sure that that authentication piece is handled by AI rather than humans. Because AI is many times they can have better decisions without any errors, which us as humans we do have a lot of errors a lot of times. So this was phase 2, and then on phase 3, which is the reason that I started this community, is that I noticed that one of the bill that I discussed earlier is now being used in a use case that nobody, including me, we don't like it. And it was used for missile control systems. So basically, because these models are very efficient and small, it can be used in drones, in a lot of use cases that you don't have enough computation power. And I'm not excited about it. I think that the majority of this room would be agreeing with me that AI, so powerful, shouldn't be used in any use cases that can get a human life or affect human lives in a negative way. So when I realized that, I noticed that with that technology that we made open source 20 years ago, and it's very basic, now after 20 years it's being used for such purposes. Imagine that the AI that we are creating today, that is super powerful comparing to 20 years ago, it's super powerful. How it can affect 20 years down the line our next generation. And so now we are in a pivotal time in our history that the decisions that we are making today would impact next generation, 2 generations from now, 20 generations from now, and everybody afterward. So it's very important that we pay a lot of attention to the decisions that we are making now. And the decisions might be from government, but tonight we are going to discuss this, that is government the right person to give this much power to them to be able to build guardrails around AI, or what are the other ways that we can have it between ourselves being united to think about how we can control AI. And especially the guardrails and preventing the things that might go wrong 20 years later. And that's the reason that we are here in this room. So I talked about the why of me, why of Miami AI Club. And Miami AI Club is again, I emphasize that there are 3 principles around it. One is being conscious about AI, being aware about AI. Number 2 is to be determined to create a positive impact around AI and with the use of AI. And number 3 is being united and work together to reach to that goal. So these are the 3 principles of Miami AI Club. With the raise of your hands, I want to ask this question, that who here thinks that AI should have legal rights? Raise your hands. 1, 2. Today and in future. Okay, so your hand is high.
Legal rights, you mean for us to be protected from AI, or AI to be protected from us?
No, AI by itself having legal rights. So it can have like rights like you and us, or less, or more, or whatever rights. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, a few people.
Can you give an example, like how do you see an AI?
That's I'm gonna tell you now. Okay. So and then who thinks that AI should absolutely not have any rights? Raise your hands. Yes. Today and the future. So what others are thinking, like just a few.
It depends.
Okay. So just hypothetically, talking about what would be if we give like AI legal rights, what does that mean? So that means that we are giving the AI, or we are recognizing AI as an entity or as a being that has legal rights. So as you know, we are going to the direction of AGI, which means artificial general intelligence. Does anybody know what's AGI? Top.
It means that it can functionally be equivalent to a human. And it sits between narrow AI and super intelligence, ASI.
Right. And then, do you think it's hypothetical, or we are reaching to that point?
We are reaching to that point, although the leading scientists in the world are not sure that we've well defined it, so we don't know when we've arrived. But in general, more and more, in narrow areas, the AI is better than humans today. And so is it as general as a human? That's really the question. It's open to interpretation, but people are working on it.
Perfect. So as Paul mentioned, artificial general intelligence is hypothetically the condition that AI would be smart enough to do some of the capabilities that we as humans have, or animals have. And as you can imagine, if that happens, whether now or near future, that means that whatever function that you give to that AI, it would optimize for that. So if it's like generating wealth, or let's say if it's self-perseverance, or let's say if it's like making something better, AI would be trained to do that possibly better than us. So we are giving AGI here a right, we are recognizing it as a being with a right, and in that case, if its function is generating wealth or a commodity, it will do that better than humans. So going backward in our history, a few hundred years ago, we were agricultural society. What we did as a wealth was the land. So the more land somebody had, that means that they are wealthier. And then in the industrial world, the commodity was labor and capital. And then in the digital world, the labor became what? The commodity became information. Exactly. And then in the AI era, the commodity will become intelligence. So AI is possibly more intelligent than us in a lot of different type of intelligence. So we have like 8, 9 or more types of intelligence. In probably more than half of these type of intelligences, AI potentially is more intelligent than humans. And so in those couple of types of intelligence that AI is not as intelligent as humans, then human intelligence would become a commodity. So if the function of AGI is to become more and more intelligent, it would capture human intelligence as a commodity, so it would get or hire humans and use them for covering the parts that AI is not as intelligent as humans. And so what movie do you think that would be close to? Matrix. So in that case, we can call it a Matrix scenario. Opposite to that, let's say we don't give AI any rights, so absolutely no rights. So that means that we are creating a being, whether that's in the virtual world or in the physical world, with a lot of intelligence, but without any rights. So that means that we are creating like a slave, a modern slave, super intelligent slave that is working for us, but we are not recognizing it and we are not giving it any rights.
That's a question.
Sure.
But you're talking about intelligence, but that's not necessarily the same thing as sentience, right? And so, you know, you could have a super intelligent AI, that doesn't necessarily make it a being. So where do you cross over from intelligence to sentience?
That's a very good question, but I'll answer that later. Because potentially we are talking about AGI here,
But your
right?
question about rights hinges on that.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
yes. But that's a good conversation for panel, I think, right? So imagine that we have the AGI happening, and then it has self-consciousness, and it's a sentient being. So in that regard, then we are giving it and we are not giving it any rights. So that case, we are, if you are creating that being in the physical world, it looks like a robot that is super intelligent, but at the same time, it doesn't have any rights. So what movie do you think that would be closer to? Terminator or somebody says iRobots? Exactly. So you can imagine what would be happening later on. They would revolt against us, and they are more intelligent than us, they are more capable than us, and we probably don't have a bright future in those days. We don't want to see that. So that shows that any small decision that we make today regarding giving rights or absolutely no rights to AI would have such huge impacts 20 years, 30 years, 50 years from now. And so that's why we are in this room. We want to figure out how we can put controls and guardrails around AI. Right?
One quick question. Do you want the microphone? Yeah, I could take a microphone. But if you look at data, you know, what's being created, calling it AI, it's still intellectual property. Somebody owns it, or an entity owns it, corporation. So there are rights in a legal standpoint, maybe not human rights, but there are rights, right?
That's true, and that's one of the questions that Frank would answer later.
You need to jump ahead.
Yes, that's a good point. So we are going to cover that in the panel tonight. Okay. So that's the reason that it's very important that we reach to a conclusion. But one point that we shouldn't forget about this is that regulation comes from the government, and the government is also historically hasn't been the best for making very good regulations. So this is another question that we are going to cover tonight. What are the limitations or boundaries that we should place for government to creating boundaries for AI? So boundaries in boundaries. So that would be the question that we would have tonight.